Hey guys, so today we have an update on my 2022 spending goals and kind of a low buy check-in. So at the beginning of this year, I posted a video about the kind of product specific no buy I was placing myself on, as well as just my kind of spending goals for the year. And we are now 3 months into the year, and I did promise quarterly updates for this, so it is already time for that first quarterly update. I cannot believe it. This year is just flying on by, but let's go ahead and chat about the goals that I set, whether or not I've been sticking to them, and then after that I'll share all the makeup products that I've purchased so far this year, how much I've spent so far, and kind of give you some quick reviews on those products and whether or not I'm happy with those purchases or not. So my overarching low buy goal for 2022 is to not spend more on makeup than what I use up in makeup. So I'm keeping track of the value of my makeup empties this year, and just kind of trying not to spend more than what that amount is. It's not a perfect system. I mean, if you think about it, you know, when I buy makeup, I'm typically not spending full retail price on those products. I generally do try to get things on sale whenever I can. And when I'm calculating that empties total, it is based on the actual retail value of the products. But in general, I still think it's a really good guideline, and so far it's been working really well for me. So far this year, I've used up a total of $82 worth of makeup, and I've spent about $89. So pretty close. I feel like I'm doing pretty well. And I actually have a couple more makeup empties that are coming up in my next empties video, but I'm not counting those in the total. So I would say I'm right on track with that goal. And in addition to that spending versus empties goal, I did also set some specific categories that I'm not going to be buying for the first half of the year, or that I'm trying not to buy for the first half of the year. Just to give you a recap, those products are face primers, foundations, concealers, magnetic eyeshadow singles, brow products, brushes, nail products, fragrances, both in the form of perfumes, body sprays, and candles. And then I also set myself a limit for the number of palettes and lipsticks that I'm allowing myself to buy this year. So I'm allowing myself to buy 5 eyeshadow palettes total for 2022, and then I'm also allowing myself to buy 5 lipsticks total this year. So far, I'm very happy to say I haven't bought any new products in any of those no-buy categories. I have now bought 1 out of the 5 palettes that I'm allowed to buy this year, and I haven't bought any lipsticks yet. So I would say I'm doing pretty darn well. And so far this year, I've actually only placed 1 Ulta order where I bought several makeup products, and those are the only products I've bought so far this year, and that total did come to about $89. There were a couple of non-makeup products in that Ulta order that I'm not including here, because this is just for my kind of makeup spending goals for the year. And if you saw my online Ulta shop with me video, that was where I placed this order, so I'll link that for you if you missed it, but I kind of took you through my whole decision-making process. It was a really fun video to film. I do plan to continue doing those kind of shop mindfully with me videos whenever I do place an order. I don't place orders very often, but whenever I do, I will plan to film those in the future. But that was a lot of fun, and then once I got that order in, I did do like a big drugstore makeup try-on video where I showed you all those products in action. So both of those videos I'll link below. But now that I've had a chance to try out all these products, I am going to kind of give you an overview of them, let you know my thoughts on those products, which ones I maybe kind of regret buying and which ones I'm really happy that I bought. So let's go ahead and start with the eyeshadows that I purchased. I did buy my first eyeshadow palette of the year, so I'm now allowed to buy 4 more palettes this year if I choose to. But the palette that I picked up was the Flower Beauty Desert Lights palette. This had been on my wish list for such a long time, and I'm really glad that I finally bought it. I did purchase this for full price, $18.99, but they were having a Flower Beauty buy one get one half off. So I did end up also picking up one of their Flower Pot blushes for half off, so it's kind of a good deal. But this is the palette. It is 6 shimmery shades, and I think this is just a great palette for kind of everyday metallic lid shades. I do really enjoy kind of foiled shimmery eyeshadows like this, and I just think this is a great palette to have on hand. I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it. I already have their Jungle Lights palette as well, and I just love this formula. There are a few of those shades swatched. I mean, they are just so punchy and reflective. If you like rose gold and you like very intense foiled shadows to just kind of throw on your lid, this palette is fantastic. There is a little bit of potential for fallout with these shades just because they are so like thick and creamy, and they are kind of like a cream to powder sort of texture, so they can be a tiny bit flaky if you apply too much. So I recommend building slowly. I mean, if you just barely tap your finger in there, you pick up pretty much enough product to cover your whole lid. So I recommend just doing like one light tap and slowly building to your desired intensity rather than really like scrubbing your finger back and forth in there, because you will end up with fallout that way. But yeah, I just think these shades are so beautiful. You can apply them with a finger, with a brush. I even like this deepest shade, which I didn't think I was going to use all that much, but it makes a really pretty liner shade. You can use it to deepen up the outer corner. It actually has ended up being pretty useful for me. I think my favorite shade is this one down here. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but that is such a pretty like pink gold duochrome. Anyway, if you can't tell, I'm very happy that I picked this up. I'm glad I finally pulled the trigger and got it, and I do definitely recommend it if you think you would use this kind of palette. I think I might even like this better than Jungle Lights, or I think it might be even more useful to me just because these are kind of more like everyday shades for me. So that was my first palette purchase of the year. I'm really glad I picked this up, but I'm also glad that I waited and kind of slept on it for a while, because this palette's been out, I think, probably for almost a year now, and it caught my eye when it first launched, but I decided to wait and kind of see, you know, after the hype died down, would people still be loving it and talking about it? And I feel like the people that have this palette love it. So anyway, really happy with this. I feel like $18 is a totally fair price for these shadows because you just don't find shadows like this at the drugstore very often. I also picked up a single shadow, and I didn't have any like no buy or low buy limits on like single shadows in a compact like this, only on magnetic singles. And I've just been in the mood to discover maybe just like a couple of easy one and done shadows that are just in a single compact like this. So I ended up going for the Ulta Beauty Bouncy Cream Shadow in the shade Italian Ice. I heard about this from Amanda Z. She's a big one and done shadow kind of person, and I am really happy I picked this up. In my try on video, you could tell I wasn't quite sure about it. I remember saying in that video I felt like it didn't have like the wow factor maybe that I thought it might. This I paid $8.70 for. The full retail price is $9, but I did use a $3.50 off coupon, which it kind of like spreads evenly out between all the products. So that's what I paid for it. And I will say you need to be careful. I did take this with me on a little road trip that I went on, and the shadow did kind of fall out of the pan. I was able to just kind of squish it back in, but you do want to be careful. It fell out like all in one piece, and it was just kind of loose in the compact, so I just kind of smushed it back down and it's fine. You can see this has a very translucent rosy taupe base and then kind of a sparkly silver reflect to it. And according to a lot of the comments I was reading from you guys, this shadow is really best just kind of on its own, like no other shadows on your eyes. And that has been my favorite way to wear it so far. Sometimes I will throw like a little bit of like a matte shadow in my crease, but on its own, this just makes a really beautiful one and done shadow. And it does look like you kind of put more effort into your look than you actually did, because in the crease, it definitely does give you a little bit of depth, a little bit of definition, but then that sparkle will kind of bounce light off your lids in a really pretty way. So that's my favorite way, I think, to wear this, is just kind of on its own. And it's also a very thin formula, so I was reading a comment from one of you guys saying that you have more mature lids, and this is just a little bit more forgiving than other shimmers or other metallic shadows. So like if the flower shadows sound a little bit too intensely foiled for you, this might be a really good option. Now, one thing I've noticed about this is that it does crease a little bit on me, even if I do have an eyelid primer underneath. I don't normally have problems with shadows creasing as long as I wear an eyelid primer underneath. But after a long day of wear, especially if it's like humid outside and stuff, I did notice some significant creasing with this, so that's kind of a bummer. But if you're not really prone to creasing, or if you're just not going to have a very active day, you might not even have an issue with that at all. And the first day I wore this, I was wearing a mask most of the day, and just kind of like out and about, walking around, spending time outside. And I did notice a little bit of fallout with those glitter particles, and I kept seeing little pieces of glitter like in my lashes, in my vision, you know? So definitely maybe not like the longest wearing eyeshadow, but like if you work in an office or you're just like not having a super active day, I would say this is a great like easy one and done shadow to just throw on. I don't know that I would pick up more shades of this just because of the downsides that I mentioned, but I am still really glad that I picked it up. So then I did pick up a couple of blushes. One was that Flower Beauty Flower Pot blush that I mentioned, and then I also picked up the Milani Cheek Kiss cream blush. So I'm loving both of these. I've been wearing the Milani one a lot more, just because this one I quickly fell in love with. This is the only blush I'm wearing today. I'm noticing right now on the monitor, my face is looking very shiny today. I put the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter like all over my face, and then I put my foundation on top. Well, actually my Pacifica concealer that I've been wearing as a foundation. So I feel like I'm looking a little bit Tin Man-like. Hopefully it doesn't look quite as shiny as it's looking right now for me. But anyway, this is the blush I have on today, and I am loving this blush. Now, one thing to note is that the shade in person looks a lot different than it looks online. Online, the shade, this is the shade Nude Kiss, it looks a lot more like brownish taupey mauve, whereas in person you can see it's more of like a rosy nude color. It's definitely more pink. I actually don't mind. I mean, I was certainly excited about the shade that I thought it was going to be, but I also am really loving the shade that it actually is. This is just a really flattering color, and I don't think I have any other blushes quite this color in my collection. There's what it looks like swatched out, kind of sheared out on my hand. All right, I applied a little bit more powder to hopefully help with the shine situation, but this is just such an easy cream blush to work with. My favorite way to apply this is just with my fingers. I find that's the easiest way, but you could also use a brush, a sponge, whatever you prefer. But to me, this is the perfect amount of pigmentation for a cream blush. It is pigmented, but it's not like full-on opacity right away. Like I'm thinking like my Undone Beauty lip to cheek palette that I have. It's a beautiful cream blush, but it is like, whoa, intense pigment immediately. This is a little bit more translucent, but it's very buildable, so you don't really have to think about it too much. You don't have to worry about looking like a clown. It spreads out and blends in very, very quickly and easily, and I swear this makes my cheeks look smoother than they actually are. I was noticing, like looking at my face in the mirror after like a long day of wearing makeup, and I had this blush on, and I felt like my cheeks somehow looked way better than the rest of my face. And ever since then, I feel like every day I wear this, I just really like how my cheeks look. I wish my whole face would look that smooth, but it really is just, it kind of like blurs my pores, and it's just a really, really nice blush. I can definitely see why so many people like this. I paid $9.66 for this, retails for $9.99, but that was with the adjusted price using that $3.50 off coupon. So highly recommend. Very, very pleased with this. And then the Flower Pots Powder Blush. This, the main reason I got this is because Flower was having the buy one get one 50% off, and I was already buying the Desert Lights palette, so I just kind of wanted to try something else. And I'd heard so many good things about these Flower Beauty flower blushes. This is so much better than the Milani flower blush. You know, the Milani blushes that have that flower imprint. That one, for a long time, I liked that one, and then I kind of started to realize that that formula was not as good as other formulas. It was just very dry. This is much, much better. Much softer, swatches really nicely. I've only worn this, I think I've only worn this twice so far since I bought it. I've worn the Milani one probably like 10 plus times now, but this one I haven't worn quite as much just because I've been in a little bit more of a cream blush kind of mood, but I am really enjoying this too. The formula of this is fantastic. It's pigmented. It's a great light kind of cool tone color for fair skin. I feel like, again, it's one of those shades that I don't have to worry about messing it up or making it look too clown-like. So very happy with that, and happy that I was able to get it for $5 instead of the usual $10. So then I also picked up 3 more of the NYX Epic Wear liner sticks, and I already knew that I love this formula. I'm really happy with all 3 of these. And these were buy 2 get 1 free, so I got 2 for the full price, $8, and then 1 for free. And the shades that I got were Periwinkle Pop, Orange Zest, and Chill Blue. I haven't worn Orange Zest yet. I think I will. This is very much like a summer color for me, but both Chill Blue and Periwinkle Pop I've been wearing quite a bit, especially in my lower waterline. These are both just really fun pastel shades for spring, and I've been wearing a lot of pastel eye looks recently, as you can tell, and I just love kind of popping one of these on the lower waterline, especially if I just like don't feel like putting a ton of effort into my look, but I still want to give myself a little pop of color. These are perfect for that. I also like winging these out on the upper lash line too, so really great eyeliner formula. I've been talking these to death recently, but I do love this formula. It is budge-proof, waterproof, just a great drugstore, just a great liner in general. So then the final 3 products that I purchased were all from Makeup Revolution. Makeup Revolution was also having a buy 2 get 1 free situation, so I took advantage of that because I've been wanting to try more products from Makeup Revolution. I ended up getting 2 setting sprays from them, and the bronzer was like the free product that I got. So I got their Fix and Glow Dewy Finish Setting Spray, their Super Fix Super Hold Misting Spray, and their Mega Bronzer in the shade Cool. 2 out of these 3 products I'm kind of just feeling a little bit so-so about, but one of them I am absolutely obsessed with. The one that I am especially loving is the Revolution Fix and Glow spray. You can see how much of this I've already used so far, and I've only had it for like 3 weeks now. I love this. I love this so much. It actually does have, if you look down in the bottom, it's got these kind of like shimmery, glowy particles in it. So you do want to shake this up really well before you apply it. It's got some little like shaky beads in there. But I don't find that this gives me like a metallic, weird, sparkly finish or anything. It doesn't give me like Edward Cullen vibes. But it does give my face just this really nice, soft, luminous look to it, but it's not over the top. I actually didn't realize when I bought this, but this does have denatured alcohol in it, which if typically I don't go for luminous setting sprays that have denatured alcohol. I don't mind that in long wear setting sprays, but I was a little worried because I did used to have the NYX Dewy Finish setting spray, and I liked that, but I did feel like it kind of made me, it had like a hairspray kind of feel to it on my face. But this, I didn't even notice that it had that until I was reading the ingredients. This doesn't feel like hairspray at all, but it's also not too like sticky, tacky, oily. Like if the Pixie Glow Mist is too oily for you, like it kind of was starting to feel that way for me, you might really like this, even if you don't typically like glowy setting sprays with alcohol in them, because I don't notice any kind of dry, tight feeling with this at all. If anything, it just kind of like meshes all my makeup together. I just love the finish that this gives my skin. I love the packaging. It just looks really pretty. I love the rose gold details. And the scent of this, it does have a scent, but this scent, something about this just takes me back to like the year 1998. Some kind of roll-on sparkly body glitter that you would get at Claire's or Limited Too if you were like a late 90s, early 2000s kid. There's some sort of nostalgic feeling that I get when I smell this that just really makes me happy. So like something about this just transports me to a simpler time, to my childhood, and I don't know, I really enjoy it. So I am happy with this. This might be, out of all these products, well, it's hard to say. I was gonna say this is my favorite out of everything, but then the Milani cream blush is also, and the Flower Desert Lights palette. These three, I think, are the three things that I'm loving the most from this order. Alright, so the other two Makeup Revolution products, I feel like I could kind of take these or leave them. If I had the choice, I may, well, the bronzer was free, but if I could go back in time, I might skip these, but I don't mind having them either. So the Super Fix Super Hold Misting Spray just isn't quite what I was expecting. I was expecting something like that Morphe continuous setting spray that's in the same type of bottle. I've never tried that, but I've just seen people use it, and I had always kind of been intrigued by it. I don't know, I thought this would be similar, but this just has a really aggressive sprayer. Like, I don't know. I feel like that didn't prove my point very well, but it's not like a continuous mist. If you spray hairspray into your hair, that's a continuous mist. But with this, you have to, it will stop spraying after you press it down one time. So you have to keep pumping the nozzle. And so I feel like I end up getting just like too much. It's not as like light of a mist as I was hoping for. And it also smells like straight up hairspray. So I feel like I'm spraying hairspray onto my face. It does give you that kind of tight hairspray-like feeling, which I feel like makes more sense for a super hold spray like this. They also say that this has an ultra matte finish. I would disagree with that. I feel like it doesn't really alter the finish of my makeup all that much. If anything, it might even give it a slightly dewy look, but I don't notice an ultra matte finish with this at all. Yeah, I feel like with a setting spray, I want to enjoy the experience of spraying it onto my face, and that's what I get with the Fix and Glow. But with this, I can't say that I enjoy spraying this on my face. I feel like it's just a little bit too intense, which maybe I should have known that going into it. Super Fix, super hold. Maybe that's just not really my vibe, but as far as making the makeup last longer, I don't know. I feel like it just feels kind of drying on my face, and because of that, by the end of the day, I feel like my makeup just looks kind of dry. But I haven't worn this one as many times as the Fix and Glow, obviously, because this is the one I've been going for the most, but I'm going to continue playing with this. It's just, I feel like I could take it or leave it. Do any of you have this one and love it? If so, let me know what you like about it. How do you like to use it? Maybe there's something I'm missing where, you know, maybe you could change my mind. Let me know. And then the bronzer. So this is not a bad bronzer by any means. I ended up getting the shade 01 Cool, and this is another case of in real life it looks way different than it looks online. Look at this. I feel like what you're seeing right now is more true to how this actually looks in person. But the picture of this shade online looks way lighter and way more cool. I do like that it's matte. I have been more into like matte bronzers and blushes these days. And it has almost like a reddish undertone, so it's not overly orangey, which I appreciate. But it's definitely just not what I was expecting based on the picture online. It's a huge compact. This is almost as much product as you get in the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. This is Charlotte Tilbury, this is Makeup Revolution. Way different. Maybe this is similar to one of the deeper shades of this, I don't know. But if you were thinking that this would be like a dupe for the fair shade, it is not. I enjoy this. I have to make sure I use a light hand because it is a little bit deeper than I would typically want to go with the bronzer. But you saw in the try-on video, I mean, I did enjoy it in that video. I've only worn it a couple times since then. I just feel like maybe in the summer I'll get more use out of this. I feel like in the spring I'm more going for blushes and like lighter bronzers rather than like a super bronze heavy look, so we'll see if I do get more use out of that in the summer. It's not bad, I'm just kind of wishing it were a little bit closer to what it looked like in the picture online. But at least I got it for free because that was the buy two get one free. That was the free thing. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering how I'm liking that hairbrush cleaner that I picked up in that Ulta order, I am loving it. I do feel like it's kind of overpriced for what it is. You may be able to find something cheaper elsewhere, but it has already come in handy. I did successfully clean my hairbrush with this. It really helped to just get all those hairs out of there. You know how when you like remove all the loose hairs from your hairbrush, sometimes there's still just like little baby hairs that don't want to come out? This really does help kind of get in there and get those out. So definitely happy to have picked this up. I think this will come in handy for me for many years to come. I am really doing my best to clean my hairbrush every time I clean my makeup brushes, just to kind of get in the habit of doing it, because I feel like that's a good habit to get into. So I do recommend it. Maybe look around for something cheaper, but I was just wanting to get one, and this was the only one that Ulta seemed to carry, but I do think it is a great little tool. So those are all the makeup products that I've bought so far in this first quarter of the year. And the categories that I listed, I'm going to continue trying not to buy any of those for the next 3 months as well, for this first half of the year. And then the end of June, we will revisit those and see if I need to add anything to the list or if I'm going to take anything off of the list. Yeah, I'm really happy to be able to report that I have stuck to my low buy and my no buy goals, so far at least. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you've not already. I upload 4 videos a week. So hopefully I will talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye.